Hi, Michael Kennedy here. Hey, you get to see me live and in color after 9 weeks. Sorry about this, I just got home from work, had to get it done. So, in this video, what we're going to be talking about was what we've covered for the past, I believe, 9 weeks, which is intercultural communications and things of that nature based on how things go from my perspective. Being a member of the LGBTQIA plus community, as well as being part of the African American community, I have done my research and my vantage points on those two things in particular. And we're going to cover things like our values and challenges and conflict and language and the nonverbal cues, which I didn't do paper on, whatever, and then conflict and conflict resolution, bring it all together. So without further ado, let's talk about cultural values. As African Americans, the one thing we seem to value, allegedly, is family. Family is very important. We think family is everything. I grew up with that mindset that family is very important. A lot of African Americans nowadays also value money and material things. If we're looking at how things are represented in pop culture, or baby makers, or drug dealers, we're rappers, we're basketball players, we're athletes, and that's what we are perpetuated as, being seen as. Interculturally, how that becomes a problem is if for instance, you see somebody who is Caucasian, somebody who's Mexican. I've had these experiences before where they say, oh yeah, my family, they like black people as long as they're not in the family. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the values for family that we have. They don't, value life because they think we all kill each other and things of that nature. And so it's very important to, understand that and be like, okay, cool, that's how you feel. That's great, but it's not the reality of some things. Also, in the African American community, being LGBTQIA plus is not a good thing. They in the African American community have something that Linder likes to call hegemonic masculinity. So men are supposed to be men. We're butch. We're virile. We sow our oats. It's a very caveman way of looking at things, but that's how things are being seen as. And interculturally, with African Americans being in the LGBTQIA community, you're seen as less than. You're seen as dainty, a dandy, even though you're not. Even if you can be as butch can be, you're still seen as not as manly. Like when looking at the episode of Will of Grace, where even with gay black people, it's internalized. We are required to keep a certain image because if we don't, we're considered to be fags. And I remember watching the episode of Will and Grace. I believe it was in 1999, where it's called Will Works Out. We was trying to impress somebody, and his friend Jack was very feminine and very ha 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 ha, and he decided that he's gonna say I wish he wasn't a fag, and that presents challenges because when people find out that you're gay, or people look at the black people, whatever, they automatically assume that the values are not aligned. They automatically look at the label instead of looking at the person. And I tell people all the time, I'm no different than you are. What I do in the privacy of my own bedroom, or what I look like, is not incumbent to who I am as a person. That being said, African Americans and LGBTQIA community members, we have our own language and lingo. Ebonics. We also have a lot of gay slang. And, for instance, if I were to tell you I'm going to read you, it's, something that's prevalent mostly in the LGBTQIA community. It's mostly something black women would say, but it's something that we throw out very often. A lot of, I'm also a millennial. And so in doing that, we incorporate things like saying hashtag this, hashtag that, before a phrase, feeling, situation, as McWhorter, 2012, has put in his works. A lot of gay lingo comes from what we see is Paris is Burning. And a drag queen in Paris is Burning, Dorian Corey explains, where some of our phrases come from, read or throwing shade, things of that nature. For me, I come from the Valley, and so I do have that whole bro, dude, man, mate, and I call women honey, and I'm like my dear, boo-boo, things of that nature. So it all depends on where you come from. So verbally, I'm a melting pot for my culture. So I do use gay words, I do use black words, I do use valley words, I do use white words, I do speak Queen's English. So it all depends on the context. Like, with African Americans, I do change my speech patterns a little bit. I don't say the N word, but I do, talk, which is more, adherent to African Americans. If I need talking to a Caucasian, I will speak to them in a more elevated elevated diction, if you will. I hate to say that, but that's what it's true. I speak Queen's English to white people. If I'm talking to other gay people, there's a lot of yes and shade and read and get your life, things like that. So it all depends, I like. But it's funny because I have a lot of straight friends, and they throw a lot of our words in there now, um, and it's like what Chris Hitchens said, you want to make the poor language, take the poor language into your arms and kiss away its tears, because English has been so butchered, but by all these different dialects. I'm sure if you have a Southern person, they have something different to be said. But for me, it's like I say yo son, that's what's up, things like that. But again, going back to having friends, who are in different cultures, I do have white people tell me, yo, what's up? How you doing? I do have straight people's like, oh my god, you threw shade, palm trees, things like that. It's like, is that a read? Get your life, things like that. That you will see adapted from the LGBTQIA plus community, and so it's a nice change of pace. Nonverbal. See, this is something I'm glad I can do physically. For us African Americans, are one of the big things that we do, especially with women, LGBTQIA people, is the side eye. Like, if something, we're not feeling something, we're not liking something, we hit you with the side eye real fast. There's always this look, or the, what? And you always tell when something, something's not quite right. Non-verbally, honestly, with African American men, one thing we always do is when we talk, we start talking like this when we're angry. Or you see women, they get like this, they start clapping and clapping and clapping when they're angry. And it's an interesting experience, being black and things like that. There's certain looks I can give another black person, they're like, oh, I get it, let's not go there. That white person understands, like, 'cause again, if I gave somebody a look like this, they don't know what it's for. They just like, okay, what was that for? Or if I look over somebody and like, which is a nice way of saying catch, which is another gay or black slang term, it's like, okay, now you get it. If you like do want to, like, yeah, I'm rolling my eyes, but you don't know, if I'm saying to doing to another black person, like, okay, I get it. He's annoyed. He's over it. He thinks this is stupid. Blah 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 blah. So it's a little different, I greatly enjoy it though. And then there's always the conflict aspect of things, with other people. I try to see myself as this another planet. I try to see myself as very open-minded. I'm like, oh my god, we can do things together, yeah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But people think that we're just so diametrically opposed to each other, and we're really not. And I remember reading that article, A Little Respect, by Bucero, 2007, and it says, honoring our differences is very important. And for instance, the Black Lives Matter issues come up a lot, guns have come up a lot, and we hear, oh, well, what about black on black crime and this and that and the third, whatever. But I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. And I need you to understand where I'm coming from when I'm talking about what I'm talking about. Just like I need to understand where you're coming from when you're talking about what you're talking about. I need to honor the fact that you are seeing things from a different perspective, and you need to honor the fact that I'm seeing something from a different perspective. And, oh my god, my light went out. And take it from there. We have these conflicts because we think we're so different based on religion, based on, social economic status, based on our looks, but we're really not. And it's like what Nafa Badgie said, what needs to happen is we need to come up with a new culture. Like, for instance, the Black Lives Matter thing. As they're looking at it from a black and white perspective, look at it as a person perspective. You're unarmed, you got shot. That is a problem. Simple as that. And I think what we need to do is come up with a world culture, that we can, look past color, which is kind of hard to do, because honestly I feel like looking at color is very important to understand people's struggles. But we need to look at the color, understand and value that this is from where they come from, this is the background they come from, and say, now how do we make this okay in the wider sense of the community, of the world community? Because honestly, at the end of the day, we are on the world stage, and we all need to get together and do something. So what this has been about, I come from the LGBTQIA plus community. Do I know what all those things stand for? No, I don't. I think it's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, allies, and the plus is for whatever. I don't know. But basically I have two very unique experiences, and I have to do with white people, I have to do with straight people, I have to do with straight black people, straight white people, and I feel like these past few weeks has given me a better understanding of who I am and where I come from. Also, it gives you better understand, gives you better understanding of how to maybe approach things a little differently. And I feel that we're all people, at the end of the day, we all look different, whatever the case, we all, come from different places. But before I'm black, before I'm gay, before you're straight, before you're white, before you're black, before anything else, you're a person first. And that's very important to understand. And that's very important to honor. And I honor your humanity, you honor my humanity, and we get along fine. And that's my video. So, namaste. Have a great day. Bye.